Hey guys, Doug here again with another video, and today we're making custom blade covers in our 1x1 series from some of our 1x1 series and future 1x1 series. So, great little project. All we need is a little scrap of leather, our 1x1, or our 2 1/2" that make 1x1. Alright? But, you're right. Speaking of sponsors, this video is brought to you by none other than Woodcarving Illustrated, the woodcarving magazine for woodcarvers, new, old, middle, whatever. This magazine's full of tips, tricks, plans, techniques, and, you know, some would argue some of the best pictures on the internet. So, there you have it. Great magazine. They've given me a promo code LINKER, all caps LINKER, and link in the description with your subscription. They'll give you some extra little downloads, some little plans and whatnot. But also, by sheer coincidence, just by talking about my future plans and projects, editor Kaylee has written, we have another competition afoot. The Blade Cover Challenge. Based on past reader feedback, we've set the deadline further out, September 13th, 2023. Send us a photo of the weirdest wooden blade cover you've carved. Arrowheads, animals, even a human face. We want to see them all. Just email a photo and short description of your creation to editors@woodcarvingillustrated.com to enter. So there you go. Right in line with what we're doing today. Our own little custom little blade covers. And turn this guy around. There we go. Oh, hello. Hello. They're also good little puppeteers. This is going to work great for future carvings, past carvings, whatever you can think of. We're just making simple little slip-on blade covers, and really fun, and then a real practical use for your little 1x1 carvings. All right, so we need a piece of leather. This is not thick leather. This piece I have here is only you know, maybe 2 mil. But you want just a little bit of give, all right? And based upon the thickness of your knife, well, we'll go over that in the future, but I don't care if you got an old piece of leather from an old belt or whatever. We just want a little piece of leather. I've tried cork before, and it works great initially, but over time, it'll break down and crumble. So let's stick with the leather, but great little project, and let's just get at it. So there's a few ways we can go about doing this. We can either take an existing carving, and we can cut it in half, or we can just start with 2 1/2" pieces, like a block of wood split in half. All right, so I think for today's lesson we will well, I'll cut this one just to show you, but I'll do the leather work on the half pieces and go from there. But very fun, and like I said, you can incorporate any little carving. Like here's a little penguin, which, by the way, I just added this guy to the 1x1 playlist because he was all by himself and he didn't have a playlist, and he is a 1x1 carving. So in the playlist, you'll see the penguin now too. So, all right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this guy, the bandsaw, and I'll just show you how I cut them in half. I like to cut them in half on the side, and I look on the guy and say, where is the best meat? All right. See some of these. So say I have this little guy here. I obviously want that to be right down his neck. So they're not all going to be perfectly center if you've already pre-carved them, all right? So since there's a cut line, just before we get them finished, we want to cut down the side because that's what hides it the most. You don't want to cut right down the middle of the nose, all right? So I'm just going to hold this guy here, and all I'm doing is running him through the bandsaw, and now we've got 2 open spots to work, okay? And that's why we never finish our carving before we're done, because after we glue it, we'll just kind of take our knife, and we'll clean up all the little cuts. But you can see when you get it back together and glued, when you paint that, you very, very hard. You'll have to know to look to see that it was glued together. All right. So there you go. So whether you want to use one of your characters or just make a little custom little slip cover, I don't know, I was just doodling really with my bead tool and paint, but you can just make a plain Jane cover, which is fine. or you can make a fun one. But anyway, like I said, it depends on your blade. All blades are different. You know, we got OCC tools, Helvey and Deep Holler. Now, they do not have to be exact. I could make one sheath that will fit all these blades, all right? But for the sake of the video, I'm going to use a little OCC tool. And I've got this ruler, and you can see I've got play on each side of that ruler. So depending on your knife is the thickness, but you want a little bit of play on each side. So that's got a good, you know, at the bottom there, you can see, you know, a couple mil on each side. It's okay if it can wiggle. It just has to be friction fit onto it, and it won't go anywhere, okay? Using my ruler as the gauge on this one, the thickness, I just cut the leather accordingly, all right? And then I can take that and take my little guy here and open her up, and I can mark that on each side. And see, remember, there's going to be some play, so we can go a little bit thinner if we're scared. I can make that a little bit smaller if we want to stay just inside of the hat there. We have the meat here, okay? But if we want to go a little bit smaller, we can, because the blade is thinner. But yeah, we just want to do the same thing on both sides, and then we just put them together, all right? And then let's say we got our 1 3/4 knife with the same mindset. We'll mark the top of our knife here, all right? So we want to stay below that there. And then, like I said, using our piece of leather that we cut to match our ruler, we can just put that centered on there. You know, the only critical area is right here. This is where you're going to see it. If it wavers a little bit, or if we cut it deeper in here, it's okay. It's out of sight, out of mind. But this is the most important area. And so we're going to put these together and make sure that our bottoms are the same, right? Because that's what we're going to see, okay? So the same idea. We'll just trace that on here. Staying the same depth as here. This is an 1 3/4 knife on a 2-inch piece. Now remember, we're going to be making larger pieces in the future. This is an idea to put in your back pocket for future videos, even 3-inch videos. If you got a 2.5-inch knife, there maybe we'll come up with something down the road, you know what I mean? So this is just something to put in your pocket and save. But all we're going to do is run our knife down here, and fingers, folks, watch your fingers, okay? But I'm just going to, if I wasn't doing this on camera, I'd be doing it flat on the ground, on a flat surface, all right? I'm just going to stick this in. And also, all knives are not the same thickness, so we also want to know how thick our knife is going to be. Generic, yes, we can do many generic blades, but if one's super thick, it's going to be tighter than these thinner ones, okay? So we'll talk about that in a minute. But I'm just going to go cut up to our little stop cuts here and get that out. And like I said, the wood inside up here is irrelevant, although it should be the same, but we can be a little sloppier back here than we can right up at the mouth here, okay? I'm just carefully cutting, not too hard. If that breaks, it's going in my finger. So we're just carefully doing that. And we're just going to take out that little bit of wood here. All right. Like I said, we're not going too deep. Our leather is only a couple mil, but we want the leather. We're going to have a little bit of a space in between, okay? So, oh, by the way, if you do have a little flat gouge or chisel, that works great too. In fact, it would be wonderful if you had one, but you can do it with a knife. But just run that each way, all right? And then before we get too far, we can start looking at our leather. And based upon this knife, I only want to see a little bit of light in between, you know what I mean? So I'm putting this down. Well, let's go rough, flat side down. And I want that to sit inside there with a little bit of space. So that's a little bit, that's pretty much flush. So I want to go a little bit deeper, all right? So we'll just do it again. Go a little bit deeper. If you go too thick right away, then your blade cover is going to slip off. So we want it tight enough just to get, we just want to squish that leather just a little bit to hold it by friction, all right? But we're probably pretty close. Now I can feel an edge on each side, so I think we're good. All right, so I will do the exact same thing on this side, and then I'll show you where we're at. So we got our matching sides here, and obviously we're just going to glue it together. So make sure that our edges are nice and clean without any issues. But I'm going to take some super glue here. And I'm just going to put that right in here. I'm going to put the smooth side down just for bonding purposes. All right. I'm going to push that in there and cut it off. All right, like so. All right. Now, just before I go ahead and do the other side, we want to double check that our thickness is going to be okay. So I'm going to put that, I'm going to rough cut this piece here without hitting the camera. Okay. I'm just going to hold these together, and I want to make sure that I can see a whisker of space. Like I said, if you have a thicker knife, you're going to have to cut it a little bit deeper. But if I can slide my knife in there and keep that flush nice and tight, then we're okay. So now I can just go ahead and glue that down because I feel safe that it's going to work out. All right. So glue, glue, glue. And it's same thing again too. If the glue, as long as it's glued at the entrance, that's the biggest hurdle, all right? Because it ain't going nowhere after that's glued together. So, all right, so that's what we got, all right? So, now, for video's sake, I'm going to super glue this together, but I would, all these other ones too, I used a good wood glue to glue these together. But just for the video, I'm going to use super glue. And then I'll use a little bit of an accelerator spray on this side. Then we don't have to sit around and watch glue dry, right? So we'll just put that together. Then I'm going to squeeze her together. All right. There you go. All right. So take my knife, slide her in. Look at that. Okay. I'm gonna go put that on the belt sander really quick, or cut that and make it all nice and clean. All right. There we go. All cleaned up on the belt sander. That you can hardly see that was ever glued together. Nice clean bottom. Find that center again, and there we've got our knife cover. And like I said, we got a little bit of play, so we can change, you know, whether it be that Helvy 1 3/4 or 1 1/2 OCC tool. What do we got over here? I don't know what that is. 1 1/2 deep holler knife. But all these knives are going to work. All right. So there you go. And then if you just want a blade cover, we didn't have to go that thick at all. We could have just used, like I said, remember those scraps from the blocks the other day, from cutting all those little blocks? That's what we could use scraps for, is just make them thin and just whip up something like that, right? No different. where's my other one here? I did this one here. I wrapped it with jute just for fun, and same thing, but same idea. We carve that out. Of course, this one's only good for 1.5" knife. Okay, this is not. But then we glue that together, and then after it's glued, we just recarve the edges and whatnot. But that is our little carving, and we're going to keep that on the side regardless. And then we'll just start carving our little man or whatever we have, right? Just like normal. Just now we know that we can't go too deep, right? We want to keep it away from the center, which is quite deep. All right. Cut the back. You get the idea. We just carve the head. Well, we're not going to carve a guy. We're not going to carve a guy, but I'm just showing you. This is just the rough. And then we just go ahead, carve our little man, and then that's not one. Where'd he go? There he is. Just like that. All right. So watch for upcoming 1x1 series videos, and yeah, or just make a simple little sheath. But lots of fun coming, and something to always keep in mind and for future carvings, that if you like them, we'll just do a little guy, and you can always make a sheath out of them. All right. So these guys are coming in the future. All right. So watch for them. But there you go. All right, so there you have it, folks. It's like I said, didn't need to carve anything because it's pretty straightforward. Just get that little leather insert in there, and you can stick your knife in it, whether that be a thin one or a penguin, a Santa Claus, a snowman, a pickle, whatever you like. So keep that contest in mind from Woodcarving Illustrated, because they haven't announced any prizes or whatnot yet, but I'm sure it'll be worthwhile and fun. And who knows, you get your picture in the magazine. So make sure to check out Woodcarving Illustrated, link in the description, and have fun with it. I don't even think I talked about the raccoon. I did that raccoon from the last video too. Right? So don't forget, if you have an existing one that you haven't painted yet, you can slice it in half and add a little leather inserts. So you can go back and do a whole bunch of your old carvings that you didn't quite like them, and you want to recarve a little bit. So cut them in half, stick a leather, make them a sheath, and then you recarve them and repaint them. So big fun, and something to keep in your back pocket for future endeavors. So there you have it. Just a fun, short, quick little video that I've been meaning to do for a long time. People have been after me for probably 4 years ago. I got this from Helvey Knives at one of the carving shows, and people have asked me about it many times, and yeah, there's my version. So thanks for watching, and I will catch you on the next one. So see you guys.